Thank you so much, Roshan, and the whole team. So when you first gave me this topic, I'm sure that if you would have given it to me around 2 or 3 years ago, I would have told that I'm an ophthalmologist in my hospital, and why do I care about all this? But then I realized that yes, apart from ophthalmology and seeing patients, which is the most integral part, there is a lot more to run a hospital than the ophthalmic practice. I'm not going to talk about the surgery. I'm not going to talk about the audit, but I'm going to talk about the non-ophthalmic departments which make your hospital very important. So the key things I've learned as a hospital administrator are: one, to be organized, to communicate, because what you want to say and what the other person wants to perceive might be in two different ways, and to be very flexible. Never take it in mind that you are the head of the hospital, so what you say matters. So all must be wondering, how is it for a single practitioner, for two practitioners to make a decision? Just imagine six people coming together to take a single decision. I'm sure that that's not going to be an easy task, but yes, with the support of the whole family, there is a lot of things which we learn from each other, and each one has their own specialty. So I'll start by saying that yes, administration starts with it in terms of starting from your hospital rounds. When you walk into the hospital, the first thing you should do is go around the hospital and don't go to your cubicle. You will see a lot of litters all over the reception. The phone will not be in place for attending calls, and there'll be a lot of statutory things which you would need in place. So go around the hospital before you sit in your consultation room. HR department makes a vital role. Finance and auditing, which I'll be talking about. Marketing strategies, maintenance of hospital, which is very crucial. The bioengineers, who play a vital role in maintaining your instruments. The insurance department, the IT professionals, which takes care of your tally, your computer MIS, your computers, if you are having any paperless informations. And in terms of other, I will say that in terms of celebrate your hospital, like Founders Day, Hospital Day, and celebrate all religious functions. So in medical colleges, like how Dr. Saurabh told that 5 years of struggling with only medicine and coming out to realize that you have a lot more. I will also agree when he said that you need an MBA. You need some business strategy management to run how the nuances of business works in a hospital. So most of us are definitely should be entrepreneurs, and we always have this attitude that once I start coming to the practice, I want to take care of this. I have to see what is done. I have to take care of the outpatients. I want to see the finance. So later on, you will decide how to segregate your work to each one of them to make it sure that they are doing the best in their field. Systems, like how Dr. Aditya said, I would agree 100%. Systems stay in place, whereas people change. And delegate work. So instead of doing it all attitude, delegate work. And it's not only delegating work, to follow up that work is the most important. So I'll start by saying that what is important in an organization, first and foremost, definitely it is patient care, and then maintenance of the hospital and service, the supplies which is there, ethics and code of conduct. From the time they come, what is the mission and mission statement you're having in your hospital? What is the patient's ethics which they have? The safety in terms of where the fire exit is, how there is a ramp, and all those devices. Quality management, planning and decision making is very important in an organization. Finance and budgeting, staff management, MIS, and finally the marketing. I'll tell everything in detail. So the first and foremost, what I will say if you're having in an organization is make an organogram, because each one doesn't know what their work is unless and otherwise you specify what work they have and who do they report to. As I told you, 6 people in an institution, it is very easy for the staffs to play around with us. So they come to me saying that Dr. Nidhi, my brother, has given this instruction, and they go to him and saying that Dr. Nishanth has given this instruction. So there is a very thin line in between where I understand and agree that, okay, Nidhi might have told this. But no, make sure that the responsibility of each staff has a hierarchy and you have a specific organogram in place. So when it comes to administration, they have to start with the MIS, which I'll be showing to you in detail. It starts from the parking lot. In terms of parking, when we do go to a place, we always prefer a good parking space. Yes. So same way, make sure that you have a good parking space. And it's not only that, we all should know that the ophthalmologist is the last person in the hospital which is seen by the patient. So my job is actually to take care of all the other departments who come before coming to see the ophthalmologist. Make sure the waiting halls are good, spick and span. We can, because most of the patients now starting in terms of appreciation and looks. Yes, they want cushion seats. Yes, they want some nice music. Keep a fragrance in your waiting hall. A small, mild music which can go around in the background. So those kinds of small things will definitely make sure that the patient's waiting time, even though they're getting dilated, if they just listen to some mild music, they're not going to complain if the dilatation time is a bit longer. So Many people ask me when I came and I asked about the administration. The first question is, how many OP did you see? I say, my hospital we see around 50 OP. He's like, no, doctor. How many OP did you see? Which was a question which was really shocking to me because I had no idea. So I am going to just show few slides of what we do in our hospital on everyday basis. I'm sure if every one of you are able to fill up those columns, that means that you have a good administration process. The first I will say is the patient flow and the turnover. So how many new patients walk into your OP from every single day? How many are review patients? And what about the people who have consultation, the pharmacy they have gone to, the number of opticals? There is always a difference between the number of opticals which is written by the consultation saying that glass prescription, and there are a number of people who are buying it. So there is a slight mismatch over there. So you should know that how many of them even enter the opticals if you have, and how many of them are being converted to buying an opticals from what you prescribe. So each department has to have that. And next, so this is what we have, a monthly MIS which is done in terms of every department individually. So consultation is different from pharmacy to opticals to contact lens to injections. So if these columns are filled up, that means that you know specifically how many patients walk in for what particular work. So if you see that every investigation in our hospital has how many have been advised and how many has been done. So I feel that this is very important for knowing the management. Yes, coming to the patient care, they should know the clinical needs. The safety of the patient is very crucial because all these things are very important for NABH. Even if a patient slips and falls, that should be documented. So the emotional needs is very important. I remember in Narayana Nethralaya, they have a yoga center in the hospital for patients care. People who are sick and are unhappy are actually having a session of therapy for their emotional needs. The patient's education is very important. They should be well aware of what they are going to undergo and what are all the possibilities which they have. Because finally we know that it's the patient's satisfaction which is the most important. The staff attitudes towards patients. It is very tough for us to tell a new staff, hold the patient's hand. When a patient walks into my clinic, I make sure that they do not slip on my slit lamp before they sit, because there'll be a small leg rest which is there. So those small nuances which should be told to the patient, to the staff, to make sure that your patient is comfortably sitting and comfortably leaving your cubicle is what which is most important to having a very satisfying patients. So in the hospital system advantages, there are a lot of other departments which are there apart from ophthalmology. If you see that in ophthalmology, like how many specialties we have, I'm sure that the amount of super specialty of non-ophthalmic is much more. Staff, I'm sure that I will say my first preference is the staff, then comes the doctors, then comes the owners. So I give my preference to staff, as the manpower planning is very important. In terms of, we had a good discussion in terms of multitasking and monotasking. So I would disagree, because my parents' days, yes, there used to be one theatre staff who finished an OT, who comes for their OP, see running. But I realized that in terms of the efficacy, when a patient is given one job to do, they do it perfectly. Because the next question you ask, why were you not in the OP? They say that I was in the theatre. So the selection criteria is very important, especially when a staff leaves a hospital and comes to you. Make sure you do a background check. Yes, they might be very good in your interview. You might be very happy with them. But what is the reason they left the organization is very, very important when you're selecting a patient. Make sure every staff undergoes a training. First of all, they should know what your hospital is, why you have a vision and mission statement. So at least 10 days, they should not start seeing whatever job they are set to do. They have to undergo training. They have to observe each and every department how it goes. Make sure that you have a performance appraisal at the end of year before you decide on salary hike. Make sure that even the staff grievances are dealt with, because many of them has, yes, personal issues, family issues, and day-to-day issues within the staffs as well. Recruitment should be perfect. Disciplinary procedures for all the staffs is very important. The wages and salary are a very thin line of problem where the staffs might be very unhappy. Usually in my hospital, the most unhappy time is the month of April, March, where the salary hike is there. So that is the time you have your performance appraisal, and then you get it done. And make sure that you reward and promote them if they are doing a good job. So next, coming to the materials, the two things we are going to have is IOLs and the medicines. So make sure that whatever you procure, make sure that the receipt is there. Make sure that it is inspected in terms of manufacturing date and expiry date. The storage should be proper, and the distribution every branch should be in terms of, it is noted down. We have a book and we have a system where even a notepad, which is 10 rupees, is made sure that it is signed by the person who is getting it. So the inventory control is very important in terms of all the materials which you have in your hospital. The most important, the finance. I'm sure it is said by everyone. Yes, during our COVID time, our whole family had actually a full session with Mr. Anil Lamba, who spoke about the romancing of balance sheet. So always make sure you budget plan every instrument. So, and everyone knows about accounting. So it is very important because it is not only the top line which we are seeing in a balance sheet, we should also see the expenses, because we will actually realize that at one point of time, the income is really good. But you will, when you see your bottom line of your income sheet, you will realize that the expenses were leading more than the income. So always make sure that you have a check on the expenditure and the expenses. In terms of legislation, yes, in a hospital, be it single practitioner or a corporate, we need proper ethics. The pharmacy license is important, Clinical Establishment Act, the insurance is very, very important, the biomedical waste, the right to information for patients, staff and doctors. In terms of me being a corneal transplant, yes, we definitely have to have the transplantation certificate, the pollution control board and NABH. These are mandatory requirements, I will say, in every hospital year on year. Branding, yes, there's a thin line in terms of what you brand, what you say and what you are actually doing. Make sure that you do not cross the ethical boundary of branding, because we know that when we think of burgers, it's going to be Burger King, and when we all these, so make sure that your logo is branded. It is not wrong to brand what you are actually doing. And marketing can be in terms of your internal staffs as well. They do well, you set a target and they're able to achieve, incentivize them. Make sure that the billing is proper. And the place of marketing, nowadays everyone are into social media, so why you're going to brand them in newspapers, social medias, in pamphlets. Make sure that you put a price and then decide on marketing. Promote your work, what you are actually doing. I will say the best branding person is not someone else, it is you as an ophthalmologist yourself. So make sure that you advertise the right products. Do not say about things which you don't do and which you're not doing. So my final take home messages will be: spend time in administration. We 6 of us as family members, we have one day in a week where none of us see OPD. So we admin from morning 9 o'clock till 5 o'clock. So all our decisions are not at home. We do not talk about ophthalmology at home, because as everyone said, you need family time. So we have made sure that we are family at work and family at home. So at home, it is no talk on ophthalmology. Anything you want to talk on that day when you come to the hospital. So finance, make sure you see the bottom line, which is important. Set systems in place. Every department make an SOP and set systems in place. And this one sentence which I always say is: complement each other and do not complicate each other, which is very important. Patients and hospitals actually go hand in hand. I'm really thankful for Roshan to give me the first talk which I've ever spoken of non-ophthalmological. I'm sure that this is all the inputs which I've done in my hospital. I'll be happy if anyone else is able to share their points of view, but the only thing is always look into admin as well. Thank you so much, Roshan, Pooja, Himanshu sir, and the whole team of IIRSI.
So you spoke about SOPs, and I think Dr. Anurag also had a mention about SOPs and checklist in his talk. So it's one thing of having SOPs, and it's a totally different game having your entire staff follow those SOPs. So how do you make sure that, they follow what is happening? As you said, you do give one day in administration for the entire week, but on a day-to-day basis, how are you making sure that those SOPs are followed?
So the only thing is, before you set an SOP, what I will say is, we always, sometimes what we do is we write the SOPs, we stick it, we say you follow it. No, the team who, if it is in terms of, for example, we take it in terms of housekeeping. So the housekeeping team is called, they are sat down, we decide the SOP along with the housekeeping team. So we come to a conclusion what you can do and what we expect you to do. So that's why I said it's always give and take. It's not like, so per day you clean 3 times. It is not possible. But is it possible 2 times? Yes. And are they making sure that they follow it 2 times? That is only up to the HR. That's why the organogram, which I said in the first place. So systems, then organogram. So who is in charge of organogram? The person who is in charge of HR in our hospital. And who should the HR report to? The director who is in charge of the HR. So each one has their rhythm. And on the meeting which we have, it is up to the directors to make a presentation. We have to make a presentation on what the HR has done this week. So is it being followed? Is the SOPs done? So that is where the final say, I will say that it is only the directors of the hospital who has to have a look on whoever you are comfortable with, whatever best person you have, your hospital management, your hospital in charge person. But still, I will say that it all should come down to you as the owner.
Right. And Dr. Anurag sir, giving a free hand to your staff. Dr. Saurabh mentioned that he started now giving a free hand to the staff. So what's your take on giving a free hand to your staff? Of course, there is a staff which is there since a long time and someone new you recruit. So how do you induct a newly recruited person? Is it by straight away giving them a free hand, making them feeling comfortable, or what's your sense of it?
No, obviously you can't do that. You can't give anybody a free hand right from the word go. But yes, you have to build that network, that metrics into which a newcomer can come and fit in or gel in easily. So if you come to my hospital, what you would find is all the paramedics would be wearing an apron, which would be having a nameplate, the names written, and then down below their designation. And everybody has the same designation. designation is vision warrior. We don't have optometrists, we don't have technicians, we don't have OT assistants, we just have vision warriors. So everybody, right from refraction to OT assistants to sterilization, everybody is trained in everything. I do not even give them the feel that they're multitasking. It is your task. You're not doing multiple things at the same time. We finish our OPD every day at say around 2:30 in the afternoon, and 3 o'clock is the time when we start our route. So we have a half an hour window during which they come and discuss about a particular case of an IL power calculation if they wish to, or if any other grievance needs to be told. Everything is done in half an hour, and they know that the rotation spot is X from Y in the next posting. So we keep changing staff every 15 days, and that is the whole purview of their task. So they do have a lot of free hand. But say there is a 0.5 cylinders wrong calculation in one IOL, everything gets dug out. We keep a record of every single biometry that is done, and if we dig, despite of 23 people doing biometry, that's the total number of staff I have, despite of 23 people doing biometry, we would dig out which person did Mr. X's biometry on last Tuesday. So the digging also is there. So the supervision is there. The strict vigil is there. They are given that free hand with the footnote that you are being supervised and being watched over. So yes, the hierarchy is not maintained in my hospital at least, because salary-wise, obviously the optometrists, which are skilled laborers, would get more than somebody who is not that skilled, or GNMs and ANMs also have that cleavage. But then when it comes to designating them, we don't differentiate, and we do give them a free hand, but with a sense of vigil being all around them all the time. That aura is always there.
Yeah, Dr. Nishanth.
Thanks, Anurag sir. So yeah, that's how it started. But then, that was the time when my parents did exactly like what you did. But then we realized that when we had one person to do the cataract workup, so in our hospital, we have one person who does the cataract workup. So the whole day job is just to do biometry, A scan, and this thing. So she's been trained so well. So any problem what we found out, we realized that we could ask that one person. It was easy to discuss with that one person, and she says that, sir, I think the IOL calculation is different because of maybe in terms of the calibration of the machine is required. So we were able to pinpoint the fault faster when we had actually given it to one job. But yes, that is each hospital dependent. For us, it is actually one person only who will do the workup. One person who will take care of the amblyopia therapy in either. So we became more of no multitasking. Over the years, we had so much of problems because the time we spoke about the biometry, they say, no, it was the other staff who did it.
No, that is what. If you have a system which will tell you which staff did it, this will not happen. And the reason why I have employed this is because I really wanted to fight the attrition tantrums and attrition threats. Once you give every responsibility to one individual, that individual really starts thinking too high of himself or herself, and then starts looking for opportunities all around. So I have a very strong bench strength. If one of you leaves, 22 other people are there behind. So they would also manage the same set of jobs with equal efficacy. So don't serve me tantrums. I know how to train my guys. So it's that kind. So if you have that system in place, the 24th person who joins the queue also gets equally trained in-house without you putting in any extra effort, and comes out to be as good in 2 weeks' time.
Right. Dr. Mehta, sir.
Very interesting. The debate is eternal all over, but I'm more inclined with Anurag right now, the way I don't have a big volume practice. So one thing that I do is to make them answerable, is to make them sign. Whoever has seen that patient or has done that biometry or whichever procedure, they have to sign. So I know who's answerable for the correct or the wrong thing. So, the bottom line, the first thing which was told was that each person is assigned a particular thing. And Anurag said something, hierarchy means, I've had a manager looking after my clinic. I paid him a handsome amount, more than 150,000, 200,000 bucks kind of. And he was the least qualified to do anything. He didn't know what the hell he was. And he wanted to rule over people who were quite more qualified and more efficient. Now, this is what happens when somebody comes from a corporate background and they have got what Anurag said. They say that I was so-and-so, I was drawing a salary of so-and-so. My last salary was so-and-so. The only reason why he wanted X amount of salary was they want that 22% or a 25% increase from the previous salary and get employed. And so that next time they go to the next place, even if they are dumb, they will get 25% more. So those corporate hopping guys are the ones who are difficult to. So what he said is correct. 23rd person also. So my life goes on, despite Anurag would say that, look, even before you guys came, I was doing everything and the clinic was going very well. So the clinic is not running on you. It's running on support of everyone. And that's how that multitasking will help. But each one to its own, and you have to give orders to various kinds of people. It's a big institution, larger turnover. Maybe what, he said that we must have multiple designation for multiple people. So you have two schools of thought, whichever works for you, good for you. But answerability, yes. Hierarchy, at times they feel very hurt. Somebody who is, the efficiency goes down if somebody is hurt. They may not tell you, but even though they are doing good work, efficient than the others, they are taking less pay. How many of you agree with me that there are people in your hospital, some of them at the lower rank, but are way more efficient than some of the senior ones.
Definitely, sir.
Anybody would like to agree with me on that?
Definitely, definitely.
Yes, sure, sir.
Yeah. So, and that's what happens. And ultimately, they are the ones who get the maximum load of work. They are the ones who are doing maximum work. And yet, if they are going to be humiliated, they are going to feel very humiliated. And that's one of the reasons of discontent and lower efficiency then.
So Dr. Saurabh and Dr. Aditya for closing comments.
I completely agree with how Sir has put it together. But I also want to add that it's a good balance. Like what Nishanth is saying is also correct. As well as what Dr. Anurag and Dr. Himanshu are saying, I think the balance has to be met somewhere. You have to make some places where you won't make a compromise and get people, that you won't, like he said, for IL power calculation, I have one person. So the trust does go through those veins that this person can do a fine job. I'm pretty sure that person is a good counselor as well. So it works in multiple ways to have that one person dedicated for that job in his practice. Whereas you may not have the need to have that person in your practice because you may be doing the counseling after looking at your biometry sheet. And you, like Dr. Anurag said, I have 10 people who can do the same job beautifully because I've trained all 10. So if one leaves, I have 9 more to follow. So to each his own, have a balance, but there'll be some compromise places where you can compromise, and you'll have some places where you don't want to compromise. So you are the judge for that. Like Nishanth said, in the end, it all boils down to the owner.
Dr. Saurabh, sir, closing comments.
Yeah, so I would, agree on both these sides. But see, what is important is the repeatability. That person, if you even all the 23 or 24 in Anurag sir's practice to one person in Nishanth's practice or my practice, that reading has to be repeatable. If the 23 people can do it, good enough. If that 1% or 2% you've trained them can do it, is something what you want, because you don't want to compromise on your results. Is very important. Okay, staff attrition is a problem everywhere, but I think we can deal with it. Depends on the kind of practice, the kind of flow what you have. But yes, repeatability, because you don't want to really think कि आज 7th ने किया था या 9th ने किया है. You are not sure कि how good, because I am sure not everybody can come up to the same efficacy. Maybe 1 or 2 would be good, 3rd would be lesser, 4th would be again good. So maybe training 2 out of them, 2 which one is better. So on these complex cases, you would want that X to do that rather than Y being doing, or maybe if the Y has done that, then X can calculate rather than a lot of people doing all the jobs. So it is, everybody's how it works for you. As Himanshu said, sir also said that you would have of both the worlds. So, but in my own practice, it works like, if you call it hierarchy, maybe. So the bottom line in my hospital is also for all the staffs is you cannot say no to anything. I would not give you something which is probably not below your dignity or something like that. But you would not, like an optometrist would not say that he will not be good at counseling, or he cannot do something probably at times if he's needed at the reception. Or I had experiences with some of them, like, we are not supposed to do that. So I told them, see, the system would run without you also, but you would have to adopt to the system. And I am, you're not in a big corporate, you are in a small place, in a small practice with me. So I would want you to, do, everything, maybe do what you are at best. So this is what I would say that,
Yeah. So I think it's got a lot to do with your geographical location also. I think in bigger cities, attrition, you can deal with it because there would be a lot of people there for you to hire. But when you are in a smaller place, then it becomes a problem if somebody who has been doing a certain task for you for a long time suddenly leaves, and there is a certain vacuum that has been created. So I guess it's got to do with your geographical location as well, and the availability of staff that is there for you. Like, for example, in Cuttack, I would believe it would be a lot more difficult than in Chennai or in Delhi or Bombay, for example. But I agree. There has to be a balance. In our practice, everybody knows everything and everybody has to do everything, because again, we have a practice at a smaller place, and I always want to give a signal that, it's not, the institute is not running because of you. If you want to leave, you can leave. There is always a backup to do the exact same job as you are doing. So yeah, it makes sense in a smaller city per se, I would feel. In a larger city, of course, since you have a lot more choice, you have 4 people eyeing the same job if somebody goes also. And as Dr. Anurag said that, if the 24th person would join his practice, within 2 weeks, he would learn everything, because that's how the system is made. That's how it is done, that person would learn everything. So training that person would not be a challenge. Sometimes what happens is that we feel that if a person who's been working with us for 4 to 5 years, 10 years, if this guy goes, then training a new guy will be a difficulty. But in my personal small, short experience, it's not very difficult. They do come and they pick up everything that's there in your hospital within about a month or so. So yeah, Dr. Pooja, if you can end
Thank you
this
so
session.
much, everyone. We are so glad to get such words of wisdom from our pioneers and our esteemed speakers. For those who are stuck at crossroads and those who are confused on how to run the show smoothly, I'm sure that this webinar has helped them tremendously. And for those who missed out, it's saved on our channel for future references and re-references. I would now like our past president, Dr. Manch, to give his closing comments. Before we see you next month back for season 2, chapter 2, advantages and disadvantages of incorporating TPA and government schemes in your practice. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Pooja and Rohan, for organizing this lovely. I mean, as always, I picked up so many points. There's so much to be learned from everyone, and they are very lucid and clear in whatever they have expressed. Really happy to see the full-scale participation. Nobody has left. Anurag, thanks so much. Saurabh, really nice of you. Nishant and Aditya, great. Give my regards to your parents. And really great fun. And everybody's enjoying it. We're all learning from each other. And that's the whole beauty of multitasking. We could very well say this is not my job. That's my manager's job. We all are multitasking right now. And if we weren't, we would be bored of going the same lane, same highway. I wonder a super duper specialist whose job for 30 years is to just go into the middle lane and just do one thing. How boring it would get, and without looking at anything else. I guess we all have our takes in life. There are pluses and minuses to everything. But there's so much to learn from everyone. And there is no correct and there is nothing right and wrong. There is perfection that at the end of the day, patients should do well. You should have your brand equity. You are loyal to your patients. You are loyal to your staff. If this message goes to your staff and this goes to the patients, everybody else will be cleared out. Those who don't deserve to be in your institution will automatically get filtered out. So I guess whether you take one way or the other way, if you are clear, as he said, Nishant said, goal plan. But over a period of time, if you have got responsibility and you've spoken well, you're doing well for the patient, they see your body language, they see how you behave with the patients. And the hierarchy goes clear cut down from top down, doesn't go anywhere else. There's a good old saying, Jahan Raja Chor, Wahan Praja Chor. Same way, the story goes on, how it is. So if you're good and the staff realizes that you've been good for the patient, they have no reason to do vice versa. They'll be 10 times scared to do anything otherwise. They can't put on an act. So the buck stops at us every which way. And thanks very much for participating wholeheartedly. Really appreciate. And Pooja, Rohan, brilliant. You need to take this up even further because it helps everybody. This is not just ophthalmology, which we can learn. So much is there on the net. Actually, we don't need a single conference. Everything is there on the net. But these are things which are not there, truly speaking. These are things which we have to learn in our life. There is no book written about this anywhere. It's only by hard experience. Like what Anurag said, that insurance, why, there's one small point which you mentioned was so beautiful. Why a private limited? Very important. These are such important things. And tax saving, you learn how to deal with your chartered. You learn how to deal with your insurance companies, how to deal with your pharma companies, how to deal with your instrument suppliers. There is so much that you have to do, and at every stage you're balancing on. Brilliant. Absolutely. Great output, Nishant. Adit, very, very, very thanks. So, Saurabh and Anurag, thanks so much for being there and participating and making this really shine in the evening. Thanks so much.